Hello YouTube friends, Ben Ochart here. Thank you so much for tuning in. And the temperature is starting to go down, so it's time for us to think about winterizing our tanks. And I have a couple tips that I've been doing, and they might work for you, on how to do the best job in safeguarding your tanks from getting too cold during the colder months. So let's go ahead and get into it. I have at least 3 tips, possibly a bonus tip at the end. Let's go ahead and get into it now. One important thing to consider is whether you need a heater at all. Sometimes people keep their tanks in a room that's warm enough in the winter, and they just don't need a heater. So adding a heater is just a waste of money, a waste of time, and also it puts the tank at risk in the event that the heater would malfunction and cook your fish, which unfortunately is a story I hear too often. One way to safeguard that when you're winterizing your tanks is consider investing in a good quality controller. This is a controller I picked up from a company called Gemco, and this is very heavy duty. It runs about $100. It has two sockets. You can run two heaters, and very easy to use. You simply set it up or down, and when your tank hits the desired temperature, the electricity, the current to your heater will be shut off. So there's no chance, unless this malfunctions, which is very unlikely, there's no chance that that your tank is going to get overheated. Unfortunately, heaters, they have something in the thermostats, and I'm not picking on Aquatop. I'm sure this is a good heater, but unfortunately, heaters are notorious for having their thermostats malfunction and overheat your fish. So consider adding a controller. You don't have to buy a $100 one. You can pick one up by companies like Inkbird. Those things are just I don't know, 50 bucks or something. So that's a good investment. Another thing I'd suggest is if the room that you keep your tanks in can get a little bit cold, consider a space heater. This is a space heater that I have. This is a very heavy duty space heater that I picked up. You can pick these up on Amazon. I even have it listed in my Amazon store, so you can check it out there. But this space heater is a Dr. Heater, and it's about 1,000 watts. Cost about 100 bucks, and it's amazing. It keeps this entire fish room nice and comfortable. If you heat the space sufficiently enough, you really don't need the heaters, because that will be plenty to keep your tanks warm. In my case, that space heater does a pretty good job, but I still needed to add heaters, but not to every tank. The tanks that you see behind me here, the 2 tanks that are over my shoulder, the 2 55-gallon tanks, those tanks were getting down into the mid to low 70s, which can be a bit on the cool side for tropical fish. This tank here, without any heater running, stays at about 79.5. I don't know why. I suspect, it could be that the fluval perhaps is creating heat. Perhaps maybe the pump system in the sump is creating heat and warming the water. All I know is that this tank runs at 79.5 with no heater at all. So this tank is not going to get a heater. It's got a heater already set up to plug in, but I'm not plugging that heater in unless I see that this tank has dropped maybe to the mid 70s. So another point that I'd suggest is if you have a fish room like I do in a garage, consider insulating the garage door. This is a project that I took on. I bought the materials, the actual foam, the foam squares or rectangles from Home Depot, and I installed them myself. I used some white duct tape to seal up and hold it in place in certain spots, and the project took maybe about half a day from start to finish, the actual cutting and fitting and everything else. But it made a huge difference to insulate the garage door. So another thing you can do is create if you have a door that connects your house to your garage, get a door that has like a level or slats in the door that allows some of the heat from the house to get into your fish room. And in my case, I leave the door open between the house and the garage, and it gives me both cool air in the summer and warm air in the winter. So those pretty much are my tips for winterizing. And I've added heaters to the 255s. I've got the heater plugged in for the 90-gallon, which was running also in the low 70s at 74. I mean, which would be okay, but I think these fish prefer a temperature closer to 80 degrees. And so definitely consider adding a controller to prevent overheating your fish. Also consider space heaters that function, that work well, and keep your fish room a little bit warmer, and that will make it so that your heaters don't have to work so hard. They do pull a lot of juice, so you'll notice a difference in your electric bill. It might be more cost effective for you to heat up the room than it is to run a large number of heaters. Some of you out there who have 20, 30, 40 tanks running 40 heaters, I mean, just having 40 outlets is not practical. So really, heating up the room is the way to go for folks like that. So those are my winterizing tips. Definitely, measure your tanks. I have this little digital thermometer I picked up from Taylor, and on this tank here, no heater on the tank. And again, there are different things that heat tanks. You have things like the equipment. Your everything contributes. Your power heads, right? Your wave makers, your pumps, your canisters, the lights. It all contributes to heating up the aquarium. So in this case here, I'm at 79.9. 79.9. 210 gallons are up to 79.9, whereas the room temperature is like 70, 75. I don't know if you can read that or not. Room temperature is 75.7. It's got to be a combination of the lights, the pumps, the wave maker that is heating this water. So this tank doesn't need a heater. So just be sure that your tank actually needs a heater before going through the process of adding one, because if your equipment is already heating up your water, your lights and equipment, heaters come with a risk. They have the risk of malfunctioning and killing your fish. So if you can avoid that risk and avoid the energy consumption, why not? Okay? So if you have any other tips that you'd like to add about heaters and winterizing your fish room, be sure to add them in the comments below. And I hope to see you on Saturday for the Cichlids and Coffee live stream. All right? Thank you so much. Bye-bye.